Right now, the apps you use every single day for work, for creativity, for staying connected, they're all in the crosshairs of a major cyber attack. We're talking about a huge, pretty sophisticated campaign that's going after some of the biggest names you can think of, including Canva. A really well-known hacking group has found a clever way in, and in this explainer, we're going to break down exactly how they're pulling it off and what it all means for you.
And this isn't just a few isolated attacks here and there. Nope, cybersecurity researchers are tracking a massive campaign. The hackers have set their sights on roughly 100 different organizations. I mean, that scale alone tells you this is a serious, highly coordinated effort.
And just look at this list. These are not small, obscure companies. These are household names, tools that millions of us are using every day. Atlassian, the company behind Jira. Canva, of course. Epic Games, the folks who made Fortnite. HubSpot, RingCentral, ZoomInfo. It's basically a who's who of modern software. Now, let's be super clear. This doesn't mean all of them have been breached, but it does mean they've all been actively targeted.
Okay, let's dive into how this all works. To really get what's going on, we're going to walk through the whole thing step by step. First, we'll look at the campaign itself. Then, we'll zero in on what the hackers are really after. We'll uncover their surprisingly low-tech weapon of choice, see the real-world fallout, and finally, talk about how we can all build a much stronger defense.
So, first up, a major cyber campaign. It's so important to understand this isn't some historical look back at an old attack. This is an active, ongoing threat that's being tracked in real time by some of the world's best security teams.
The group at the center of all this chaos? They call themselves ShinyHunters, and these guys are notorious. They're a cybercriminal crew with a long history of pulling off high-profile data breaches, and this latest campaign, it's one of their most ambitious yet.
And look, this isn't just a rumor or speculation. This entire operation has been confirmed and is being watched like a hawk by two heavyweights in the cybersecurity world, the research firm Silent Push and Google's very own elite team, Mandiant.
So let's move on and see how this all connects. With almost 100 companies in their sights, what are the hackers really after? What's the one thing they want? Well, it all boils down to stealing the company's digital master key.
So that master key is a service called Okta Single Sign-On, or SSO. Now think about it like this. Instead of carrying a giant keyring for every single door in your office, what if you had just one master key card that opened everything? That's exactly what Okta SSO is for employees. It's their digital key card for all their work apps. It's super convenient. But if a criminal steals that one key, they don't just get access to one room. They get the keys to the entire kingdom.
So how do you steal a digital master key? You'd probably think it takes some incredibly complex, super genius level of coding, right? But what ShinyHunters is using is a surprisingly low-tech and honestly pretty sneaky weapon, a simple phone call.
They're using what the experts at Mandiant are calling evolved voice phishing. So this is not a sketchy email with a bad link. No, this is a real person, a literal con artist, calling a company's IT help desk, pretending to be an employee who's locked out and just using their words to trick their way inside.
And this breaks down the whole heist in 4 simple steps. First, there's the call. The criminal phones the help desk and tells a really convincing story. Second, the theft. They talk the help desk staffer into resetting an employee's password, which basically steals their login info. Third, and this is the critical move, the enrollment. They immediately use those stolen credentials to add their own phone to the account for multi-factor authentication. So now, any security codes go straight to them. And finally, the access. With the master key and control over security, they could just walk right into the company's systems and start taking whatever they want.
Which brings us to the very real, very damaging consequences. I mean, what happens after the hackers get in? This is where the true pain really begins for these companies and, of course, for their customers.
So, while dozens of companies were targeted, ShinyHunters has already publicly taken credit for successful breaches at several, including the investment platform Betterment and the business data company Crunchbase.
And the amount of data we're talking about is just staggering. The group allegedly leaked over 20 million records from Betterment and over 2 million from Crunchbase. This isn't just a security incident, it's a massive exposure of potentially sensitive information.
But just leaking the data isn't always the end goal. According to Mandiant, after getting inside and grabbing all the valuable data, ShinyHunters often follows up with a simple, chilling demand. Pay us or we release everything to the public. It's a classic, high-stakes extortion racket.
Okay, so that's the threat. It's clever, it's effective, and honestly, it's pretty scary. But
it is not unbeatable. So let's talk about the defense. How do you actually protect against these kinds of advanced social engineering attacks?
This slide really gets to the heart of the solution. It turns out that not all multi-factor authentication is created equal. The methods that are vulnerable to this attack are the ones lots of us use, getting a code via SMS or just tapping a push notification. Why? Because a hacker can trick a help desk into sending those to their device. But the resistant methods, like a physical FIDO2 security key or modern passkeys, that's a whole different ballgame. You just can't social engineer a physical object. And hey, you don't have to just take my word for it. Charles Carmichael, who's the CTO of Mandiant Consulting, puts it perfectly. He says, these protections are resistant to social engineering attacks in ways that push-based or SMS authentication are not. When a top expert from Google says it that plainly, it's probably time for all of us to listen.
Mandiant also lays out a really clear action plan for any IT admins watching this. Number 1, and this is the most important, use phishing-resistant MFA. 2, have strict policies for authorizing new apps. 3, actively monitor your logs for anything that looks weird. And 4, watch like a hawk for any unauthorized devices being enrolled for MFA, because that's the big red flag for this exact attack.
So, let's just wrap it all up. You've got a notorious hacking group, ShinyHunters, using simple phone calls to con their way into getting the digital master key, those SSO credentials, so they can steal data and then extort major companies.
And if there is one thing you take away from all of this, let it be this. The best defense here isn't a bigger firewall, it's a smarter login. It's about moving to stronger, phishing-resistant authentication, like physical security keys or passkeys, that just can't be tricked by a convincing voice on the other end of the phone.
Which really leaves all of us with one final question to think about. In a world where a simple conversation can give away the keys to the entire kingdom, is your digital master key truly secure?